Mr. Sullivan, what are you doing at this symposium?
I was invited because my work for the last 30 years has been in the family courts as a psychologist, as a mental health professional, working with probably the most difficult, high conflict cases, with a particular emphasis in trying to develop approaches that move them out of the most adversarial processes in the courts.
Do you believe there's any recommendation that may have come out of the symposium that will help you to better achieve your objective?
I think there are recommendations. Working together in a collaborative way across professions, not being in our turfs of attorneys doing their thing, psychologists doing their thing, judges being kind of siloed in their courts, but finding ways to collaborate, to share information. The interesting thing in this symposium as well is that it was international, so when we work in our jurisdiction, we can also become kind of parochial in the way things work. I think that most parents who are either thinking about separation and divorce, whether married or non-married, and have children, tend to think about that process primarily as a legal one. And because of that, when they think about moving into that transition, I think about it as a family transition. But obviously, if you think you have a legal issue, where do you go? You go to a legal professional, and legal professionals tend to work in courts, so they're gonna sort of advise you to address the issues that you have through a court process. And I think the courts have done a pretty good job across jurisdictions, really internationally, in for most people having a lot of ways to divert people from traditional court processes, which you can call litigation, but it's basically an adversarial system where you have someone represent you, and you kind of present evidence to a judge who then makes the decisions about what should happen. We sort of recognize, particularly for parents and kids going through a family transition, that that's not the correct model. So processes like mediation, processes like education about how to approach shared parenting time and what you should be thinking about helps the majority of parents to kind of slide past their legal involvement. But parents who are, for whatever reason, because they've had a traumatic separation, or because they have trauma in their past, or because there's been issues like substance abuse or domestic violence or alienation, tend to get more involved in the more adversarial processes of the courts. And what we know about that is that it enhances and prolongs conflict between parents. And what we also know is that conflict between parents is pretty, not pretty, but is toxic and damaging to kids. The estimates are that 5% of parents who separate and divorce use 80 to 90% of the court's resources. That's pretty astounding. And we talked a lot in the symposium about ways to even with them move to alternative kinds of approaches to helping them that have the benefit on both sides of better serving kids and families, and also potentially freeing up the resources of the courts. The two primary things that AFCC does in the field is our conferences that are attended, by a lot of people, and then our journal, the Family Court Review that, you know, that's published 4 times a year, that kind of allows the really innovative professionals to publish and disseminate what studies they may be doing. I'm just excited to see, and be a part of how the proceedings come together. And I thank you for inviting me.
Matthew, we thank you very much for being part of this.